I am continuing on with the figure theme that I've been doing, and the next kit up is this. This is Neanderthal versus Denisovan versus Homo sapiens from Linear A, I believe, which is, I think, a company out of Germany. And there are 48 figures in 12 poses, and it's in 1/72nd scale. And if you've ever done anything in 1/72nd scale, you know it's teeny tiny. So this is the next one up. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. All right, let's go ahead and do an unboxing here. So there's not much to these. I haven't looked at them before. I'll go ahead and pull them out of the box here. So it comes with all these little figures, kind of on a wheel, if you will, and they're kind of a soft plastic. Now there's supposed to be, I believe, 48 figures in 12 different poses. And if you look at the box, it's got some Homo sapiens, some Neanderthals, first meeting of the Denisovans and Neanderthals, more Neanderthal, more Homo sapiens, Denisovans, and Denisovans. Okay, so they are really teeny tiny. Maybe you can see that. So these are going to test my ability to paint tiny. So we'll see what this is about. Let's go ahead and clean the parts first. These appear to have been injection molded, and anytime you've got injection molding going on, there's always a possibility that they used a release agent. The problem with a release agent is that it can get in the way of your paint job. So what I've done with this kit, as I do with many others, is I've squirted all the parts down with Windex, wiped them down, and then squirted them all down with water, wiped it down again. And I find that's pretty good for removing any release agent that could get in the way of the paint job. As I was cutting the figures off the runners or sprues or whatever you want to call these little wheel things are that they were connected onto, I made a discovery. I had primed these with Citadel Color Chaos Black primer, and what I found as I was cutting these off is that the primer was flaking off, and I think that has to do with the plastic that they used for this. It's a very flexible, rubbery plastic. It may not even qualify as plastic. It may be more of a rubber. Whatever it is, it's not good. So I'm going to reprime these. Well, clean them up first, then reprime them and go from there. Now that I've got all the pieces primed, I've organized them into 4 different groups where I've got one figure from each of the possibilities, one in each of the 4 groups. So I've decided on my base colors, which is going to be the darker color, and then I'm going to work my way up through a mid-tone and ultimately to a highlight tone. So I've got my 4 combinations of paints, and so pretty soon here I'm going to get on to base coating. The last step was to take some Elmer's glue around the base, and then once that was covered, use some Woodland Scenics fine turf to put some grass down, and that was about it. The linear A, Neanderthals versus Denisovan versus Homo sapiens, is done. I'll be honest with you, this one I didn't enjoy so much, and it may not be completely the fault of the kit, but it's just part of it is because it was so tiny that I couldn't get into the detail as much as I would like. I'll try to show these here. I don't know if these are going to be in focus or not, but really teeny tiny. I think these are 1/72nd scale, I think. And yeah. So part of the problem is because these are molded in plastic, they don't grab onto primer or paint real well, and that primer or paint can flake off very easily. So I had an issue with that. Again, working at that scale, really hard to get detail. And there was, if I really had taken my time on it properly, there were some flashing issues that I just didn't bother with because they were so tiny. And sometimes with the primer, particularly the black primer that I used initially, you'd have some buildup that if I was going to be a really good model maker, I probably would have gone back and addressed all that. But it was just such a tiny kit, and I got away from it for a little while, for about a month, and then came back to it. And like I said, this was not my most enjoyable model building experience, but I made a point to get through it rather than just give up, because you don't learn anything if you just give up. So anyway, these little teeny tiny guys are done, and I'll figure out what the next adventure is. Thanks for joining me.